Welcome, everybody, to Cinema Royale. I am Travis Hobson of PunchDrunkCritics.com. And as you can see by the physically ripped Viola Davis behind me, we're talking about the Woman King on this episode. And joining me is my buddy, Tim Gordon, Black Reel Awards, FilmGordon.com. What's up, Tim?
Man, not much, Travis. Thanks for the invite, sir.
Yeah, man, it's been a while. How you been? You doing good?
Man,
How
I'm
was
doing
TIFF?
all right,
Tell me
man.
about TIFF. You were in Toronto.
TIFF was fun. I just saw before we got on the air that Steven Spielberg's movie, The Fabelmans, won the Audience Award, which was no surprise because it was one of the most buzzed about films that was up in Toronto.
Yep.
I didn't get a chance to see it, Travis, because like I told you, we'll both be in Middleburg in about a month. So I will check it out there. But no, TIFF was solid, man. I think I got about 15 movies in about 4 days. And stuff like The Inspection, I'm really looking forward to. The Whale with Brendan Fraser, which I really, really like that performance. We saw one of the movies we're going to talk about today, The Woman King. Went to the world premiere there and saw it. So it was a good festival. It was some solid films that were up there.
Yeah, I was just chatting with our friend Chris Bumbray. He's walking into his final movie at TIFF right now. So
And he stayed the whole time. Damn.
I think Chris always stays the whole time. But then again, he lives in Montreal. He's not too far away from it. So it's a little bit easier for him. All right, let's talk about The Woman King. And I'm going to do my best to get all these African names right because I'm probably going to fuck them all up.
Wow.
And I should have kept my notes somewhere. So The Woman King is a project that's been in the works for a lot of years. I remember reading and even writing a post or two about Viola Davis and Maria Bello. And people were surprised to find out that the story came from actress Maria Bello trying to get this movie together. And I believe it probably wouldn't have gotten together if it wasn't for the popularity of Black Panther. Honestly, and the popularity of the Dora Milaje, who we've seen it in, not just in that movie, but also in Falcon and the Winter Soldier and other places as well. And they're extremely popular. And I think that the success of them has helped this movie get made, which fine, whatever it takes, to get these kinds of stories done is okay with me. But the story follows Naniska, who's played by Viola Davis's character, and she's the leader of the Agoji, which is a group of female fighting warriors for the kingdom of Dahomey, which is led by King Gezo, played by John Boyega, in I believe a blaxploitation outfit from like the 1970s or something, because that's what he looked like. He looked like he was. He always looked like he was chilling, and like he was about to go run outside and beat up some cops. Like that's the way he looked in the entire movie to me. And every time I saw him, I couldn't help but laugh. I'm right though. He looked like he was wearing like the dashiki joints that people would wear like in blaxploitation movies. That's exactly what he looked like. The story for this is surprisingly, I found, Tim, to be very American in a lot of ways. It's kind of a classic kind of Top Gun underdog new recruit story. Right? Because you got this new girl, Nawe, who is sort of rebellious, and she needs to fit in to the very regimented Agoji structure. And of course, she fights against it. But she's also someone who's deeply passionate. And of course, she has her whole arc where she comes around to fitting in and fighting to protect her home. And that's a very classic style American story, which I think is smart to tell that kind of story if you're going to present this material to people who maybe are unfamiliar with it. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts?
Oh no! I enjoy listening to Travis Hobson break down and dissect films. And I was for people who don't understand the inside joke, in my around town mode. Because we both get paid the same. I'm like, yeah, Travis, if you want to go, man, you do it. Yeah. But as I agree with you. I think going into The Woman King, as I said, I saw the premiere of it and had an opportunity to sit down with one of the producers, Kathy Schulman, as well as Gina Prince-Bythewood the day before it premiered. And Gina and I go back a lot of years. I mean, I've probably met her initially around the Secret
You
Life
you
of
and I
Bees.
interviewed her together for something,
We
didn't we?
did for Beyond the Lights with
That's right.
Nate Parker,
It
which
was
I
Beyond the Lights.
yeah, which was an inside joke because when I saw her, I said, you know, we need to pour one out for Nate, and both of us kind of looked down on the ground. Held it for a second, like, yeah, man, it's
Hey
sad.
man, he's got American skin. He all right.
Yeah, man, but no, but what I was telling Gina when we were talking, I said, you know, we didn't talk anything about this film. I was just telling her how proud I was of her, and that if you look through her filmography, all of her films, for the most part, Travis, hold up. You
Yep.
know, it's funny when you sometimes we go to these festivals or we interview these directors sometimes, and they'll be like, well, you know, my last couple of films are really good. I wouldn't look at this movie from my past. Gina Prince-Bythewood doesn't have that issue with having a bad film in her filmography. When you got The Old Guard, Love and Basketball, Secret Life of Bees, Beyond the Lights. I mean, she's done amazing work year in and year out. So I told her,
He knows how to
that
pick them.
not only, huh?
He knows how to pick them.
Oh yeah, she does a really good job. And one of the things that I used to always tease her about was that, you know, like you don't you know, Spike Lee can make a movie a year, right? You know, but for Gina, Gina needs 2, 3, 4 years sometimes in between these projects,
Yeah.
kind of like get them together. But when she gets them together, The Woman King is the latest example to your point about the story. I thought everything about this film, because I went in sort of like you and I the other day in another film we can't talk about right now, but I kind of go into these films sometimes like a blank slate, right? I just like, tell me a story. And from the moment I saw Naniska, played by Viola Davis, and then, you know, her being the general of this all-female army with her Lieutenant Sheila Atim, that a lot of people will have remembered from Bruised, and
Yep.
she's done some other stuff. Lashana Lynch, of course, you know,
Sean Lynch is fantastic in this.
Lashana Lynch is great. And then of course, as you said, the new recruit that comes in who has a background of abuse and, you know, is dumped on the doorstep of the palace and brought in to train. And then Niska sees something in her and they're like, yeah, we need to bring her aboard. But I think the performances are really good. I thought the storytelling was really well. I thought, shockingly, the choreography of the fight scenes are really, really well done in this. And Gina Prince-Bythewood just knows how to tell a story, Travis. I mean, her
Sorry,
storytelling.
I've got a cat who's behind me making all sorts of racket.
Oh
So
man, don't
I
even
keep
worry about it, man.
I keep I
I'll
keep
overtalk Nick Fury, but I thought everything about this film really really worked, and I think you know, the whole female, you know, the whole woman aspect of it. I think that's something, man, that is relatively new, and we haven't seen a lot of that. But
yeah.
I think they pull it off really really well. The only thing that really I thought in the storytelling, and I think this speaks more about our country and the viewing audience than it does about the film itself.
Mm,
You know, they told a story, man, and there's not a lot of mainstream, i.e., white participation in this story. We get
right.
very little of it. And unlike, you know, when people make the comparison with Black Panther, where you had the Martin Freeman character and you had what was his name? The guy with the missing arm that
Oh
had the
yeah, Ulysses Claw,
yeah,
played by
so
Andy Serkis.
right, Andy Serkis, right. So you had a couple of actors that were in the ensemble, despite they were back, you know, back deep in the ensemble. But The Woman King doesn't give you that, and I think the numbers that we look at for opening weekend kind of speak to it's it doesn't have it won't have that Black Panther esque sort of reach because, you know, first of all, you're talking about all women warriors, and you're talking about specifically all African and Black women warriors. So, unfortunately, Travis, this movie, despite the fact of having widespread distribution, is not going to do the numbers. And it's sad because I think there are some award worthy performances. Viola Davis
I
should
think
absolutely be on the short list
I agree.
for best actress. And I told Clayton Davis this when we were in Toronto. I'm like, dude, why is nobody talking about Viola Davis? She's great. I think Thuso and Lashana Lynch are also equally great in this film. I like this movie a lot, Travis. I had a lot of fun with it. I haven't gone back to see it since the first screening,
Yeah.
but I promise you, I need to see it about 2 or 3 more times. It's really, really, really well done.
Yeah, but it seems like this movie is unfortunately getting review bombed as well by some other some other movies have been lately, and so in TV shows featuring female leads. So that's one thing that might be hurting it. I'm hoping, because I've been saying for since I saw it, that I felt like one of the reasons she's going to get nominated is because I feel like it's going to be a movie that catches on with people. I know it only opened, I think, to 19 mil this weekend, something like that, which is okay, but it's not great.
No,
It could be one of those movies that sticks around a while, though, which I kind of think it might be. It might be a movie that does well week in, week out, and before we know it, all of a sudden it's got $90 million. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I kind of feel like that's the way this is going to be, especially if Oscar buzz for Viola picks up, which I do think it will. One of the things I liked about the film also is that it's it handles a kind of a complicated issue within the Dahomey Empire because, you know, Naniska is firmly against the practice of imprisoning and selling off their own kind, their own people. Slavery. Whereas it's also a big profit earner for the country as well. So the king is kind of like, well, I don't know, kind of playing both sides, kind of like, well, what should we do? Show me we can make money elsewhere. There's a bit of an issue, there's a bit of a conflict in there about what to do and how to move forward with that. On the contrast, you mentioned the white characters. You got one who is a slaver, and you got the other one who's a Portuguese, who's half Portuguese, half Dahomey, and he gets involved in but he's over there with the slavers as well. So he's obviously involved in it in some way, but he's also involved in a love story with Nawe, which is like the one aspect of the story that I didn't really like, and I didn't think they needed to put in there. That kind of love story angle that they put, and I thought that didn't really work so much. But I like the fact that they at least addressed that conflict, within the Dahomey, and they didn't have to put that in there. They could have just had them be like, you know, altruistic and all completely against it when we know that wouldn't have been accurate in real life.
well, as Public Enemy once said, Travis, King in Chief probably had a big beef. Because of that, now I grit my teeth. So I think about what they were doing, and you're absolutely right. I think I agree with you wholeheartedly on both points. I think that they did a really good job of showing that using that conflict, not in messaging, like I was teasing you the other day, like message,
Yeah.
but just enough to let you know that this is an issue that they're dealing with that's sort of complicated.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, the whole aspect of having a love interest for one and not for all, and it was kind of this forbidden thing. You didn't need that at all in the story, but I guess they had to have a way to kind of expand the audience, I guess, doing that. So I didn't understand it either. But I think you're absolutely right. But to speak to the small box office, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Travis. That you got Black Panther coming on November the 11th, right? So this film, I think everybody was wondering why The Woman King was released so early, and it was because of that Black Panther buzz, right? So you don't want to have two films that the audience like that. Like there's a huge African American presence and African presence that we know is going to gravitate toward Black Panther 2, the sequel, right? And it seems like The Woman King is literally mining almost the identical audience. And it's so funny, Travis, because I got up this morning and I was looking through my social media feeds and I saw somebody put a clip up of a bunch of women dressed like the Dora Milaje talking about let's go and see The Woman King. And I'm like, you could at least kind of separate the story. These are two distinctly different movies,
Right.
but it speaks to what I'm talking about, how the audience, this sort of pride aspect, this Black joy that we get, unlike the movie we saw the other day, which is Black trauma. So you either get Black joy or Black trauma, and we need to figure out how to live somewhere in the gray where every story doesn't have to be us being kings and queens, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be us being in Jim Crow or slavery, antebellum these sorts of stories. So we're in a very complicated time, Travis. And I know you look at films generally, I as well, but I specifically look at the direction of where, not necessarily where Black film is going, but where Black storytelling is going.
Right.
And like I said, these are the two extremes right now: Black joy, Black trauma. where is the middle in this conversation about the filmmaking right now?
Yeah. Well, if I have to choose, I'd much rather see Black joy than Black trauma because I've had 40 years of existence of watching Black trauma movies that I really don't need to see anymore, which is why I wasn't really happy about being made to watch one early in the morning the other day.
Oh my God, man. That was horrible, man. Both you and I were both sitting there. I kept looking at you like this.
I also feel like we were outliers in our opinion of that movie too, compared to the people that were in it.
Get out of here. There are people that like that movie?
I think the people that were coming out after us and were standing there listening to us talk about it did not feel the same way we did. but we'll see. I don't know. That's the way that was what I felt like.
Well, you should bring me back when we have to talk about that movie.
Oh, definitely.
I have a very distinct opinion, and I think it has something to do. If you're over 40 years old and you've lived in America and you understand internally what we've had to deal with,
yeah.
I mean, you can make those stories, but I think you had the best point. There's no perspective of any of those sorts of Black trauma stories that actually will work on screen that you and I will walk out of it and go, that was a good movie. Because It's horrible all the way around. It's just horrible.
Yeah. It adds nothing. Whereas I like The Woman King for telling a story that 99% of the world has never heard of before. I'll be honest, until this movie was first reported on, I had never heard of the Goje in my life. And I'm someone who's read all the Black Panther comics and have seen the Dora Milaje and never really thought about them or anything even close to them being in existence.
It's funny. I didn't know the name of the group of female warriors, but I remember watching a film years ago called The Spook Who Sat by the Door when I first heard about Dahomey. Mm-hmm. So this has always been a part of the lore of African storytelling in this all-female brigade. And when you saw Black Panther with the Dora Milaje, you're like, oh, okay, inspired by. So it's wonderful, to your point, Travis, to really introduce something that's based in real history. So this is not comic books, Stan Lee, the folks at Marvel or DC kind of, telling the story. This is like based on the real story or inspired by the real story of who these women were back in the 1820s. So, good.
Yeah, more movies like this, please. And hopefully this one ends up doing well in the long run for its theatrical run. Yes, Tim and I both recommend The Woman King. Tim, I know you've always got a lot of crap going on, so tell people where they can find you and anything that you got coming up.
Oh man, a lot of crap is absolutely correct. Well, it's not crap, but right now our film festival, which we literally just rebranded after we had our last one in August, it was formerly the Lakefront Film Festival, that now goes by the Light Reel Film Festival as a compliment to the Black Reel Awards. So you catch that, Charles?
So you had the Black Reel Award and they had the Light Reel Awards. This one's for white people.
No, this is the Light Reel Film Festival, Smarty, which is a.
I didn't know. You didn't tell me. I just assumed.
But I was saying, so we have One Night Frights coming up, which is our programming around Halloween and thrillers, October the 11th at the Angelica Papa.
You're gonna show Blackula.
Close. We're gonna show Tales from the Hood.
Okay.
And it's another surprise film that I'm working on, but Tales from the Hood, which people can watch on cable. Yeah. It's cool to see some of these movies, Travis, back on the big screen. So I would love to see Tales again back on the big screen.
You can show Bones with Snoop Dogg.
We thought about Bones. Bones was on the short list. I wanted to do Candyman, and I have to tell you off air why we're not doing Candyman because it's a long, complicated story with who owns the rights to Candyman. And let's just say, Travis, they wanted me to sign a contract that was almost as long as the screenplay was for Candyman. It was ridiculous, man. I was like, I'm not doing that, man. I'm not doing that. So Candyman may resurface in another year, but October 11th, We'll be showing Tales from the Hood and another movie that we're working on right now. But you want to come out? That's going to be our 1 day film fest, Travis. We're going to have a conversation with somebody to be determined. We're going to do a horror panel, 2 films at the Angelica pop up, as well as having it on our platform as well. So
Nice.
look forward to that.
That's awesome, man. And where can everybody find out information about that?
Lightreelfilmfest.com.
All right. Y'all heard about that? Lightreelfilmfest.com to go find out about that event. Sounds pretty cool, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in to Cinema Royale. I'm Travis Hobson. You can find me every day at punchdrunkcritics.com and loads of other places in and around DC. All right. Thanks again for everybody tuning in. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.